Hello guys, it's me, Mr. Frederick, here to talk about Punnett Squares today. So here, as you can see in the screen right here, the objective that we have today is called We Can Understand How Punnett Squares Are Used in Genetics. So when you see here, one of the main points we're going to discover is before we could talk about Punnett Squares, the main question is, what is a Punnett Square? And I invite you to look at the screen right here, and you see Punnett Squares right here. Basically, it's a box that contains four inner boxes inside of it. As you can see here, they have different letters. The capital letters mean that is a dominant of the traits of any trait that you're talking about, and the lowercase letter represents the recessive trait. Traits that cannot be seen unless you have two. If you have two of that recessive gene. Now, on the top that you see here, me pointing, you have that's where the male is placed at, and at the sides here, that's where the female is at. Okay? When you have two letters that are the same, capital letters, two capital letters, like in the case where you see these two capital B's, is called homozygous dominant. When you have two lowercase letters, it's homozygous recessive. If you have a capital and a lowercase, those are heterozygous or hybrids, while the other two before I mentioned is a purebred. Okay? Now, here's some key words. Genotype. Genotype is basically the genes for that given trait expressed in alleles. So basically, let's talk about B, the letter B. B representing the color of eyes, brown eyes. So I have brown eyes, and most people around the world have brown eyes. It's a dominant eye color. Okay? So either I have both capital letter B, homozygous, or just one is enough to give me the brown eye feature that's visible. Phenotype is actually what you see from the traits. It could range from eye color, hair type, like mine is curly, skin tone, height, and etc. Okay? Next, now what is the purpose of Punnett Squares? Some of you may be saying, Mr. Frederick, what's the point of this? So, the purpose of Punnett Square is to be able to predict different traits that is possible that parents could give to the kids. So, as you may have seen, there are parents that have kids that one looks just like the father, another one looks just like the mother, or it may skip a generation, and one of y'all might look like your grandfather or grandmother, and you don't look nothing like the parents. And there's cases where you have a combination where you're a mixture of your mom and father in appearance, and you don't look like none of them. So it's very interesting to see that, because you may have a sibling who has curly hair but you have wavy hair, or you have brown eyes, but your sister, for some reason, a trait that skipped a generation, she got blue eyes from her grandfather or grandmother. So it helps us to understand each other better. Okay, that's the purpose of Punnett Squares, to calculate and see the percentage. Okay, so here's an example. We use it for learning what kind of color peas we could have. So here, the dominant trait here is yellow, while the recessive is green. Now, how do we apply this in real life? Some of you are saying, Mr. Frederick, like, where do I see this in common life? Good question. And you see it in plants. You see it in human beings like us. And here's an example of a plant. So you see the dominant gene here is T. T for height, tall. So on the top, the male has the heterozygous, capital T, lowercase t. And the female has also heterozygous, which is tall too, capital T, lowercase t. Okay? Now, The offspring, they have different percentage of coming out. So here, there's a 25% chance that'll be homozygous dominant, meaning they have 2-letter capital T's. And then there's a 50% chance, 25-25, that they'll be heterozygous, meaning capital T and lowercase t together. But they're still tall, because you only need one dominant gene to represent all, okay? And you have 25% that's going to be recessive that has lowercase t's, 2 lowercase t's. In order for recessive to be shown, you need 2 lowercase letters of that recessive to get it, okay? And here are more things. Genotype determines your phenotype. Just a quick review. So, do you remember, dominant is the strong allele for a particular form of a trait. If you dominate, you're the one that's in control. You're the one that leads, all right? And recessive is the weaker allele. They basically stand back and let you do the work because you're the one with the power, okay? That's basically it. That is basically what is about Punnett Squares, okay? So explain what is it, what's its purpose, and how it's applied in life, okay? This is Mr. Frederick, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.